was born October 18th, 1859 in Paris. Died at the age of 81, January 4th, 1941. I came from a Polish Jewish family and involved myself into a 20th century French philosopher. I received a Nobel Peace Prize in Literature in 1927 for my brilliant skills. My interests consist of philosophy and language and mathematics. I was influenced by people like Charles Darwin, Blaise Pascal, and Kant. Click.
You can just do like that.
So go to the right, to my right, so we can read. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
You can click now.
One more time.
Thank you. I have famous 4 pieces, and some including minor ones, and these are just the first couple ones that I am mainly known for. Miss Morgan, I know you probably already figured it out. Please don't shout out.
I love this approach.
Okay.
I love this approach.
My first piece is called Time and Free Will. This was basically to challenge Kant's thoughts, and it was because I felt as though he confused time and space, and he kind of mixed them together, and I didn't like the way he did it. The main thing that I'm trying to do is to describe it as consciousness and distinguish it between time and space. During this, I'm differentiating. I define the immediate data of consciousness and absolute temporal movement, and informed by duration, retained by memory with no mechanism casualty. The next one is creative revolution. Okay. The next one is creative revolution, which I believe contains a mix of 2 opposite senses that must be differentiated. Although I believe in time and free will, I also believe life contains a practical requirement imposed on your body and accounting for the customary mode of knowing. The purpose of this published piece is to offer a philosophy, my philosophy, that is able to include continuity of all living things as creatures and the discontinuity of the evolutionary quality of this creation. In other words, life must be linked to creation, as creativity alone can sufficiently account for both the continuity of life and the discontinuity of products of evolution. The next piece that I am known for is the 2 sources of morality and religion, which was developed from creative evolution, and it is basically the attempts to exemplify that there are 2 sources of which 2 kinds of morality and religion evolve from. There is closed morality, which is the first one, whose religion is static and concerned with social cohesion, and there is the second one, which is open morality, whose religion is dynamic and concerned with creativity and progress. The last one is called Lely, which is French for laughter. It is the vital part, I believe, of social life and possibly for humankind. I laugh, you laugh, we all get a good feeling at laughing, but it's when we laugh at someone else's tragedy that I went into trying to explain. Okay. I believe that we laugh at people who fail to adapt in their failure, seem to parallel to an inflexible mechanism. I dare to ask, is there something mechanical encrusted on the living? Finally, the concept of multiplicity. This is one of my most favorite pieces. I did it because, I don't know, I'm me and I'm brilliant, get used to it. Okay, so it is described as to have 2 destinies, Berganism and phenomenology. Phenomenology includes the multiplicity of occurrence, is continuously related to a unified consciousness, while in contrast, Berganism, which is the immediate data of consciousness, in our multiplicity. Basic way to explain it is when you're describing 2 and of, one's 2 something and one's another thing's like of something. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I'm just that brilliant. Click. And finally, due to a dramatic outcome in my life, I lost faith and I convinced many that immediate experience and intuition are far more significant than rationalism and science for understanding reality. Reasons are because they can fathom the depths and the vitals stimulus, which is the basis of life. I believe that all existence is fluidity and becoming and moving and growing, a sequence of states that never rest at their immediate state. And finally, it is impossible to identify reality through logic and science. That is why it is only distinguished in intuition, which is direct visualization and experience that transcend intellectual process and scientific observations and reasoning. Click. I am Henry Bergenson. Were you wrong?
No, I wanted them to
No.
guess.
Oh, really? I'm sorry. Okay, well, you can go ahead and click it. I am Henry Bergenson. For many of you who probably didn't discover, which is an honors class, so I wouldn't be surprised if you guys did, I am Henry Bergenson, and this is my closing quote. Instinct perfected is a faculty of using and even constructing organized instruments. Intelligent perfected is a faculty of making and using unorganized instruments. I feel as though I am a thinker. That is why I took in philosophy and literature. They should be self-explanatory. You guys are honor students. And I am brilliant, and I came back as a woman because women rule.
Yeah.
Hi class. See, Miss Morgan is not here today. Obviously she's not sitting in that seat right there. So I will actually be filling in for her today. My name is Mr. Parker. Can't spell it. That's kind of ridiculous.
It's the worst honors class ever.
Yeah, we have a quote today. Actually, my office was out of paper, so this is my roommate's workout sheet. But nothing in this world is more common than unsuccessful people with talent. Leave the house before you find something worth staying in for. That is a quote by a street artist named Banksy, who there's a film that he did, he released a little while back that you might have heard of. But if not, you'll be learning about him today. So if you just pass that around, there's actually a bit of his art. It's a piece of his about peace. So yeah. Sorry, I'm a new adjunct here, so I don't really know how everything works. Also, I am a Mac guy.
Go down. Yeah, go down.
I don't actually know where
Yeah,
it is.
Go
open
up.
the first computer.
Go up.
Create a
It's
computer.
co-who, right?
I totally empathize.
Remember
Totally
this.
empathize.
Is that it?
Yep.
That's what it should be. Alright. We're on chapter 137. Wow, you guys are... Impressive.
Oh,
Okay.
very cool.
So, as you can see, we are going on chapter 137, graffiti, art, and Banksy. We're going to cover a lot on Banksy here. He's one of my favorite street artists. This is actually a piece of his right here. But let's get into it. So, Banksy is his alias that he goes by. No one actually knows his real name, but we're going to be covering kind of mainly his graffiti, and he does stencil graffiti. This is a couple of his works. That's actually him up there. That's like the only picture you could ever find of him anywhere. But he works a lot with satirical street art, and he uses a lot of like culturally familiar images. We're going to talk about if his art is actually art, or if it's just him ruining public sidewalks, and also the longevity of his art. So, but for him, he said graffiti has always been a temporary art form. You make your mark, and then they just scrub it off. Unlike the Mona Lisa that'll be in the museums forever, the things that he creates can be taken away that day. But usually his things have to do a lot more with what, something like what youth will kind of see, or what someone in the society that's, I guess you can say the 99% society, like he kind of caters to them a bit more. But his hallmark is taking images that are culturally familiar, like a caveman or an Indian, and presenting them in a way that takes advantage of irony or perception. Here he's got, the caveman's got fast food with a bone in his hand, and the Indian's got a no trespassing sign. See, the thing I like about his work most is he uses, like this right here where it says no trespassing, he uses certain things that are already there on the buildings and on just out in the world as part of his art instead of just a canvas for his art. This is my favorite thing by him. I think this is under a bridge somewhere in London. We only know that he was born in Bristol, and besides that, no one knows where he's from, where he's like anything. But this, I feel like it's something talking about his art form, that his art form could just be washed away, but at the same time, society and not looking back in history and everything. I mean, a lot of his work is very simple, but it is thought-provoking. But he does funny things like this, like on the steamroller, or just very provoking, like, I mean, I feel like most of his art kind of doesn't need explanation, it speaks to you immediately. But he is very anti-war, anti-capitalism, just any, like, that whole generation of kids growing up and not being part of the establishment. This is part of his, he does a lot of 3D stuff too, not just spray paint. And that's what we're actually going to see next is, oh, by the way, he does this with stencils, but like he'll create stencils, like these huge stencils that he runs over the wall and just spray paints and goes with shading and everything. And he does them all himself. He's got a crew that helps him as far as like breaking into places. Like he's actually, he does this one thing where he'll go into a museum kind of dressed like this, dressed really properly, no one's going to look at him. And he'll go up and he'll actually put a small frame on the wall and tack it there, and it's like something that isn't in the museum, but he makes it look like it's part of an exhibit. He does things like that all the time. But this is part of, like, so he actually does exhibits himself where, cause he's got handlers that are able to present his work without him actually having to present himself. These are just a couple of things he's got. And this is actually, I found this really cool. Hopefully it pops up, yep. This is a map of London and his artwork of where it is. And this is just, like, this is just in the London area. He makes trips, last year he was actually in San Francisco for about 6 months, and like, it just suddenly, he started like, his artwork started popping up everywhere, and it's a very distinct look. Like, his art is much different from any other street art that's out there now. There was this artist in the 80s that was a lot like him, and they say he draws inspiration from him a lot, but like, you can't ever really get it. But this is the $10 or the 10-pound notes prank that he did. Because he doesn't just do art, but he does like things, just social commentary on stuff. But he took, he made forged 10-pound notes that instead of the Queen's face on it had Princess Diana's faces on it. And they went to a carnival and passed them out and just kind of like tried to get them, and actually a lot of them sold just like people took them, and then they started realizing they now sell on eBay for up to $200. But as far as graffiti or vandalism, his point of it is that anything that you'll see on the street or next to the wall in your apartment or on a bus stop will have more effect toward you and have a lot more meaning to anyone else than anything in a museum. Which I feel like is very true in some way, because it's just a random person that came and left their one bit of art versus someone that created this masterpiece. Whenever you don't need a museum to have a masterpiece, you can just have a wall like that. But his paintings, although like I personally think they're amazing, they get covered up all the time. And so he's actually cool enough to where he says, if you want to take a picture of his painting and sell it at some stand at some festival, it doesn't matter. Like, anyone has the right to license any of his stuff as long as it's not for commercial use. And he actually, there's a website where he says, like, if you take a picture of it, you can sell it. It doesn't matter. But these are just like examples of his work that just gets covered up, because I mean, either like here is actually like there's a huge rivalry between this. How it says King Robo. Robo is actually under here. Was this huge graffiti artist in the 80s that like this specific painting was very popular, and it was like a legend, and he covered it up. And so there's this huge rivalry between him and this huge group of street artists in London that hate him, so they'll cover up his work like that. And this right here is actually, he did this in the 90s. He started doing graffiti in the 80s, but in the 90s, whenever he started doing stencil work, this was like a landmark in this neighborhood that everyone knew whose it was, what it was, and everything. But Armenian family moved into this business and just whitewashed the walls and didn't even know what it was. And down here is just, instead of just covering it up, it was just vandalism of his piece. That's all.
Okay, specifically today, I love how we talk about a lot of art in this class, but there's one era of art that I noticed we didn't go over, specifically Russian art. And Russian art is really, really interesting because Russia never had a Renaissance. A lot of the art that actually originated in Russia was either copied somewhere else or it was totally original. And a lot of the richness and how much wealth that is shown in a lot of the other art that we saw, like French and English, is not there in most of this Russian art. It's like poverty, grinding pain, and just there are two very different types of ideologies that went through Russia in the 19th century that I want to go over. And the two artists I want to talk about are Ivan Aivazovsky with Russian Romanticism and Ilya Repin, Russian Realism. On the left is Aivazovsky, and on the right is Repin. Repin was pretty much very, very political, extremely involved with his times, and very vocal. He wrote a lot of political propaganda and a lot of very politicized works that were actually banned, but eventually went back on the market. On the left is Aivazovsky, though, specifically was like the complete opposite. Almost none of his work is political. He barely painted. He couldn't even draw a person. All he could do was paint. In his lifetime, he painted over 6,000 paintings, half of which were of the ocean. He's also considered Russia's greatest marine artist and also one of the greatest in the world in regards to that. Specifically where he's from, just to give an idea, Aivazovsky is from Crimea, which is right here, and Repin is from the middle of Ukraine. And most of Aivazovsky's work was done on the Black Sea. Just to give an idea of some of Aivazovsky's work, a lot of it was pretty much like this. A lot of his critics actually kind of got on his back because they hated how, in the vast majority of his paintings, the boats are always tipping at an angle. And apparently that annoys some people and they're weird. So something's wrong with them. But also a lot of his paintings, certain colors just dominate the palette. Like here, it's like can't even really see the sun, it's just this broad yellow. But he used a lot of color, very bright or very dark. He really loved to use a lot of contrasts. And specifically, he was really, really good at this. Secondly, Moonlight in Feodosia, which is a town right off the Black Sea. This is an extreme, again, he was really great because you can't see the moon, but the illustration of all the light coming down is extremely good. He also specifically, I don't have the painting here, but he also was an officer in the Russian Navy. He's actually one of the few Russian artists ever to have been so close with officers within the Navy. He got taken along different wars, and a lot of paintings were of Russian battles and ships, and a lot of action. And lastly, in regards to his paintings, this is the sea, one of his best works that I've noticed, simply because of the rainbow of color that he uses. Very, very beautiful. And again, he always had the ships at an angle, but since his works aren't very political, there's not much really to it. He specifically never ever painted people or anything really. It's just purely nature scenes. That's it. And he kind of made the point that that's just what the focus was. And that was pretty much the Renaissance school he did. This was painted near the end of his life. And near the end of his life, Russian realism was starting to take hold in Russian, in the universities. And this kind of represented it. He used much darker color palette, much more realistic in the sense, and it's just darker overall. He didn't try to make it anything bad or anything, but just darker. Now, Repin is the complete opposite again. I loved these two paintings he did of biblical scenes. The left is Jeremiah on the temple wall that was torn down. And on the right is the story of Job. Specifically, even though he did paintings from books and from tales, he always painted the characters in such a way that they stayed real to what the characters were in those stories. Like Job's friends were complete jerks. He lost everything, lost everything. His children died, all his stuff got stolen. They essentially gave him stupid advice. It's like if someone robbed your car and said, "Oh, that's too bad. It's your fault." So it's and you can see the arrogance in their faces, and it's really, really good. He really knows how to capture the pain and suffering of the subjects he paints. This is considered one of his most famous paintings ever. This is extremely famous. It's called They Didn't Expect Him. He painted this multiple times. This is actually his living room. This is Repin's living room, and the people in that painting are actually his family members. He used them as models for the painting, and this one is actually banned in Russia after he finished it, specifically because the Tsars really, really hated it. He did a lot, this is actually the last in a series of paintings, 3 paintings. I think the first one was like arrest of a propagandist and others, but after, this was all before the Russian Revolution, but after that happened, he stopped painting political works. But as Avezovsky's work was of the sea, Repin's speciality was portraiture. He was an extremely good artist when it came to painting people. On the right is, as Ms. Morgan mentioned earlier, Leo Tolstoy, writer of War and Peace, and he did multiple paintings of him, very much so, and he painted a lot of his contemporaries, a lot of people knew. I looked at hundreds of his paintings, and on the left, I can't pronounce his name, but precisely the guy on the left is an author, and that's probably one of the best paintings he ever did. Extremely detailed, extremely awesome. And lastly, I can't even describe most of the paintings he did because simply the focus on showing the pain and suffering. And there's some other paintings, but I like these two simply because the one on the left especially, the girl, it's called this Fisher Girl, it's the name of the painting, but you notice how to capture the poverty and the pain. That's why Russian art sticks with me much more so than other styles. It just seems much more real and more to heart than many other artists did. So, and on the right, it's just like a peasant guy. I mean, a lot of the people he paints are these are people you never think of. These are the people that are poor and they're suffering, but you never hear about them, you never see them. It's like there's nameless faces in a crowd that you never know about, but you know they're in trouble.
As students, I feel like almost every one of us wants to travel and see the world and just see different cultures and be like immersed in it, just because a lot of us have lived in Tallahassee our whole lives or just a small town, and we want to see other things. And this artist, Steve McCurry, he's one of the best photographers I've ever seen, and he takes pictures for the National Geographic, and he has a really famous picture I'll show you at the end. But his main point, I guess, to his photography is just to capture the struggle and joy of everyone throughout the world. And he takes pictures mainly in Asia. There's a lot of different Asian pictures, but there's some in the US, some in Cuba, some in Africa. There's like from all over the world. And so he did go to college and got a degree and everything, but then he wanted to go freelance. And he went undercover, I guess, into Afghanistan, and he started taking pictures of people, and that's kind of where like the famous picture comes from, but I'll show you that. So he's won a lot of awards, and like I said, takes pictures for National Geographic. And these pictures are his pictures in the background. This is one of his quotes. He said, "Most of my images are grounded in people. I look for the unguarded moment, the essential soul peeking out, experience etched on a person's face. I try to convey what it is like to be that person, a person caught in a broader landscape that you could call the human condition." So most of his pictures are just about people doing simple things, but across the world, a lot of them are the same, but then a lot of them are so different. Like, I'll show you some more pictures, but he has galleries and stuff, and they'll be titled "Sleep," and it'll be someone sleeping. There's a picture that's really good, but they'll be sleeping like on the road or underneath something, but just, I don't know, just like really simple things that it's cool to see that we're all the same in some ways. So like this is kind of showing different ways that people have found peace and just in different countries like you wouldn't think, I don't know. And he uses such bright colors in all of his pictures. And then faith was another topic, and I liked showing where all these are from. I didn't title that one because I figured we could all tell where that one was from. Like that's in America somewhere. But this in Afghanistan, I saw so many pictures of the religion where they like beat themselves on the back. Like they have something and they like whip themselves, and I just thought that was really scary. But then just like everyone praying, and I felt like the American ones were kind of stereotypical of like what I saw throughout the different galleries. So I wasn't sure if maybe that was like a stereotype where people are like, oh no, we don't all like hurt ourselves for our religion, but wasn't sure. And then this is different pictures of kids. And I thought he was the cutest kid ever. I don't know if it's a girl or a boy, but and like just you don't even see their faces, but you can just like that they've had so much struggle to deal with. And her, I don't know how there's water all the way up to her hips or something, but and then like this was travel, so that's in Los Angeles and that was in somewhere in Asia, and I was just like, how I don't know, just how blessed we are in America, I guess. And then this was in the sleep, and it freaked me out because there's a huge snake underneath them. And then the blue picture I just wanted to show because it shows the bright colors that he uses, and they're just so vivid wherever he takes pictures. And this is the most famous picture.
That one I know.
Yes. And he took that picture in like 1983, and it was published in 1985 on the National Geographic cover. And then recently he went back to Afghanistan and found the same girl who's now in her 30s, I think. And he had an interview with her, but it was really confusing because I think her brother was speaking for her, and he just said like she never smiled the whole time, and her brother said she never had a happy day in her life. And she was like, when she was younger, she was fleeing to go to a refugee camp, so but I think a lot of people know that picture.
How sad.
I know.
To have a single happy day in your life.
And like he said, even on her marriage, it was an arranged marriage, so and she has kids now, but I just thought it was cool to see that she's still alive despite where she's been. So it was cool to catch up with her, I guess.
Which is sculpture and coral reef conservation. But you wouldn't think they would have anything to do with each other. But this guy has found a way to combine those two. So his name's Jason Descartes Taylor, and he grew up in Malaysia, where he was surrounded by reefs. And he learned how to scuba dive and became a dive instructor, and was a dive instructor around the world. And later in his life, he became a graffiti artist before he went to the London Institute of Arts and graduated in 1998. And now he does sculptures made out of concrete and fiberglass. But his sculptures are actually like casts. He takes casts of people by using plaster and letting the plaster set on them, and then takes the plaster off, uses the plaster as a mold, and uses extra strong concrete, it's like 10 times as strong as normal concrete, to create these sculptures. But he fine-tunes everyone after he creates it. But the cool thing about his sculptures are they aren't in museums or art exhibits. They're all underwater, or the majority of them are. So to see him, you actually have to snorkel or scuba dive in the areas where he has them. And most of them are in Cancun, and some of them are in Grenada. And yeah, and he has a few in other places, but this one is his biggest project right now he's working on. It's this, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Museo Subacuático de Arte.
Yeah. And, it's supposed to be like an underwater museum. So it's the first that they've ever done like this. But actually the picture at the bottom right is when they were first opening it. But it's hopefully they're hoping that it brings tourists, because a lot of tourists are going to the natural reefs in Cancun. This is off the coast of Cancun. This is Cancun here, and this is where the statues are. You can see them. And there's gonna be over 403 statues once it's completed. and that's 180 tons of concrete. But each one is individual and different than any other one, and they're taken from local people and conservationists that he makes molds of, and then creates these sculptures. But that one's in process right now. But they serve more than just the art purpose, in that they create a place for marine life to congregate around and actually inhabit. So this one he did here was actually, he has several things like small holes here so the fish, small fish can go in and out. So they can have refuge in here. And just all kinds of little features that let that happen. And also here, he got with a marine biologist, and they've taken frags of coral, staghorn coral, and planted them here so they would grow out and eventually grow over this statue. But this one here is, he actually had places to place the coral in so they would have each one. And his statues do eventually become part of the reef, as you can see here. They get more and more growth on them, and they're a perfect place for algae to attach first of all, and then all of the other stuff, sponge tunicates and stuff to attach later. And this down here is just the process showing, took a mold of this guy, and this is when they first put it down, and then this is about after a month. And his art is it's not like other art in that it stays the same over time. It changes, it's constantly changing and evolving into something new. And it's really cool how it's always changing, and it's never the same, and it will never be the same. It's always different. And eventually his art will be covered up, but that's the purpose of what he's doing, because the more when they do these kind of things, it brings tourists off the main natural reefs and brings them over to these places to see these, and that takes pressure off of the main reefs and gives a lot more, gives those reefs relief from pollution and stuff that occurs. And that's it.
Okay, well, that was Frida's first accident. She said that she had two in her life. The second was Diego Rivera, but he was way, way worse than the first. And those are her words. Her name is Magdalena Carmen Frida Kahlo y Calderon. That's her full name. She was born in 1907 and she died in 1954. But she often said that she was born in 1910 because she wanted people to associate her with the year of the revolution. She was born in Mexico City in a neighborhood called Coyoacan. That's a picture of the neighborhood recently, and that's the neighborhood where she was in that video. It's very pretty. It's one of my favorite places in Mexico City. That's a market in Coyoacan, very colorful. This particular market not only has fruit, but they also have a lot of artesanias, like art from the regions in Mexico. So pay attention to the watermelons because they will come later. That's the historic center in Coyoacan, and that is, it's called La Casa Sur Museum. That's where she was born, and that's where she grew up, and it's now a museum. It used to be called Museo Frida Kahlo, but it's now La Casa Sur. And I was there last summer. It's pretty neat. That's the patio of the house. It's pretty big. That's El Jardín, where they have the plants and the trees. It's pretty cool. She was famous also because she was married to Diego Rivera, and she was often Rivera's wife. She was not Frida Kahlo, she was Rivera's wife. They have a very tormenting marriage. They both cheated on each other. Diego was very busy with his work, and then also a problem in the marriage was Frida's health.
So like, can you point out that Diego is the fat guy, not the little guy?
Yes, yes. The Diego is the fat, tall guy, and they were very different physically. When they got married they met in 1928, and they got married a year later in 1929. And Frida's dad said that it looked like a marriage between an elephant and a dog, because he was pretty tall. She was barely 5 feet, and I am 5'1", so it's like she was like my size. And that's what her dad said, a marriage between an elephant and a dog. She used to dress in traditional Mexican costume, and I am wearing a traditional dress from Chiapas. She used to she used to dress a lot from dresses from Oaxaca, because Oaxaca is very rich, but this is close to Oaxaca, so it's very similar. And I thought I'm showing that. This is the museum. That's her room. That's her bed. It has here. Her mom used to put things there for her to see, and then on the if we were sitting on the bed, there is a big window in front, and so that she could see through the window. Because when she had that accident, she had over 30 operations. She broke her hip, she broke her spine. Her right leg was broken into 10 pieces, and also when she was 6, she had polio. And so her right leg didn't develop, and it looked shorter and thinner than the other leg. And some people say that that's why she used to wear long skirts, but she actually wore those because she wanted to be to show solidarity with indigenous people. That's her painting her reality. She people categorize her painting as surrealist, but she said that I am not a surrealist. I don't paint my dreams, I paint my own reality. And that's the kitchen in the house, in the museum. It's pretty big, but that's probably, kitchens in Mexican families are probably bigger than the living room or the rooms. Everybody get together there. And these are some of the traditional tools to cook. Very big, they cook for the entire family, but the family is not only the children and the parents, but the grandparents and the grandchildren and the neighbors too. And she was also very committed with the revolution. And here, this guy right here, Zapata, one of the leaders of the revolution, this is one of the dresses she used to wear. And those are her painting tools. That's there at the museum right now. And her wheelchair. And that's at La Casa Azul. Again, wearing her traditional clothes. She not only wear the traditional costume from Oaxaca, but she also braided her hair and wear ribbons on her head. And when I was at the International Festival last week, I was showing some pictures about her too. And I was asking people if they have heard about Frida Kahlo, and they said, oh, the lady with the unibrow. So that's probably also why she's famous, but I'm not sure if it's the one it looks like to me. But she was certainly very pretty. And also her paintings depict a lot of pain. Most of the paintings are self-portraits, but she also had other paintings. This is called Viva, vida. And this is another one. She has a series of Viva la vida, and this one it's part of that series. This one is Still Life, and this one is Still Life with Parrot. So very colorful. And that is the dress that she liked the most. This is from Oaxaca, and it goes along with a little piece of the part on the bottom also goes on the head, and it looks pretty neat. And this particular painting is the one that we have on our book. It's from 1944. The column in the middle represents her broken spine. The nails on her skin represent all the pain that she went through, and then she's crying. She suffered a lot for that. Then on the background is very dry and no reading things, like it was a symbol of no hope. Also the dry land on the back also symbolizes the fact that she got pregnant, but she needed to terminate her pregnancies because of her broken spine. And I never painted my dreams, and I painted my own reality. That's probably one of the famous quote. And this one is self-portrait with torn necklace and hummingbird. The necklace is similar to Jesus' crown, and then the hummingbird is like a cross. And she liked monkeys a lot. They are also mythological symbol of sexual desire. And that's another one with monkeys. I wanted to show this one because this one is at the library. If you go on the second floor, they have a poster of this picture. And actually, this particular painting went to the Los Angeles County Art Gallery during a big Mexican festival that was called Splendor of 30 Centuries. That was in 1991, but if you go to the second floor of the library, you can see this poster there. And that's her with a monkey. And I wanted to show the map where she, the dresses that she wears from is called the Tehuantepec Isthmus, and is where Oaxaca and Chiapas is. It's this area right here. And that is known because it's very rich linguistically and ethnically. There are over 50 ethnias living there, and they speak different dialects. And this is the richest area of the world that have linguistics and ethnic groups, along with another region in the south of China. And that's called the Tehuana Huipil. On this whole, you put it on your head, and then you wear the flowers on the back and on the front. And that's in Oaxaca, ladies wearing the same dress that she used to wear. And people don't wear those dresses in the street on every regular day, but for celebrations like a wedding, and that's a picture of a wedding. The back is the cathedral where someone is going to get married. And these are famous quotes. Feet, what do I need you for when I have wings to fly? I leave you my portrait so that you will have my presence all the days and nights that I am away from you. I never paint dreams or nightmares. I paint my own reality. I paint self-portraits because I am so often alone, because I am the person I know best. My painting carriers would eat the message of pain. Painting completed my life.
I will be with you shortly. Let me just get situated. You can pop on yourself if you wish. Have a little quick smoke.
Hi, I'm Patterson. I'm Patterson. Just for fun.
Yes.
No, I can't.
Just write something. Just write something in there.
Write something.
Okay. Edgar? Let me just follow me. Alright, you can sit right here. How are you doing, Edgar?
Quite well today, I guess.
That's good, I guess. This is our first meeting, and we're just gonna start with basic questions. So, what was your family like?
It is a long tale, I can tell you. As a child, my parents, I guess, were quite wonderful, but my dad either ran away or died when I was young. And then I loved my mother. She was wonderful. And she died of a dreadful disease when I was 3. And then I went to live with John and Frances Allen. And I loved Frances. She was wonderful, but John, we did not get along at all. So when he sent me off to college, he knowing he didn't send me enough money. So I decided to gamble it all to try to make more, but that didn't work at all. So I went back home to John and Frances, more to Frances than John, to find out that Frances was already buried, and she died of the same terrible disease. And then I decided to run off to do other things with my life and defy John because I hated him. And I went to live with my Aunt Maria and cousin Virginia, and that was a wonderful time. I found my brother there. I was separated from my siblings a long time ago. And then he died of some same terrible disease. And Well, I had a couple happy years. I fell in love with Virginia, and we got married, and had a couple happy years with her. And then she died of the same terrible disease.
Well, okay, let's try a different approach. How about that? Let's see. What was it that they all died from?
I think it's tuberculosis. It's a terrible, terrible thing.
Okay, well, enough of that. Now, let's see. I'm going to show you some ink blots, and you're going to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay?
I do see wings. Wings and some claws, like perched on a limb. It reminds me of this wonderful thing I have written. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. 'Tis some visitor, I must, tapping at my chamber door. Only this and nothing more.
That was quite nice.
Peek into the soul.
Very creative soul.
Distraught.
So only this and nothing more.
Yes.
Okay.
And a raven. It looked like a raven.
And you don't like TB?
No. No. Don't like coughing.
Yeah, coughing blows. It's bad. Okay, well,
Free to go now. Yes.
yes, you are. I'll see you in about a week.
Maybe.
Okay, well, the next person is Virginia Woolf. Virginia Woolf. May I take your code?
Sure.
My, this is heavy. What do you have in here, rocks or something?
No.
Or maybe a weapon?
A weapon? No. Who's afraid of Virginia Woolf?
Well, since this is our first meeting, let's start at the very beginning.
Okay.
What was your childhood like?
Oh, well, I lost my mother when I was 13, and then shortly thereafter, my sister, my half-sister Stella, she passed away. So it was quite sad.
I can imagine so.
Yeah, and then my father died about 10 years later, and that was very sad. It sent me into a tailspin.
Ooh.
Yes.
Are you married?
Yes.
Not hitting on you, but I just noticed the ring.
Yes, I am. I'm married to Leonard. He's wonderful. He's my rock.
Rocks are good.
Yes.
Also good for throwing at people.
Yes.
So how is your life with him? Like, how are you two together?
Well, it's quite good. He's established a press in an outbuilding that we have, and he publishes books, and some of mine, and he's so good to me.
Oh.
And he just puts up with me, and I write all day.
Is that how you pass your time?
Yes, just all the time. Makes me feel good.
So what do you write about?
I write about people and events, and I think about my childhood in Cornwall and at St. Ives. A lot about the seashore.
I'm going to show you some ink blots, and you're going to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind, okay?
Sure.
That's what I call free association.
Okay.
Don't think about it, just tell me what you see.
I see flowers. Mrs. Dalloway said she'd buy the flowers herself. What a lark, what a plunge. Yes, flowers. Kind of looks like a lighthouse.
I'll just make note of that. whatever you say comes to mind. Whenever you don't think, the things that come out of your mouth, those are the most important things to me.
Okay.
Things coming out of your mouth is very important.
Here
Now, I'm sorry to do this, but it seems like we're out of time. Can I see you next week? Would that be?
Well, before I go, can I read you something I was writing Leonard?
Sure.
Okay. And then I want to know what you think of it, if possible. Dearest, I feel certain that I'm going mad again. I feel we can't go through another of those terrible times, and I shan't recover this time. I begin to hear voices, and I can't concentrate. So, I'm doing what seems the best thing to do. You've given me the greatest possible happiness. You have been, in every way, all that anyone could be. I don't think two people could have been happier till this terrible disease came. I can't fight any longer. I know that I am spoiling your life, that without me you could work, and you will, I know. You see, I can't even write this properly. I can't. You've been entirely patient with me and incredibly good. I want to say that. If anyone could have saved me, it would have been you. Goodness, I can't go on spoiling your life anymore.
Fascinating, but we're out of time. So,
I'm going to the river now.
have fun there. Let's see. Next person, I think I recognize you from where we met earlier. I believe that you were next. Hi. Now, could you tell me your name again? I'm so sorry.
Oh, my name is Robbie.
Robbie?
That's what I go by.
I would shake your hand, but it seems to be really...
Yeah, it hurts. So.
What happened?
Well, you see, I initially in my life I was a musician. I still am today, but I played my music on the piano. But now since I strained my finger, and I wear this whole hand brace so that it just makes it. I'm trying to make it better, but the doctors say I won't. It's just really frustrating. But I am a composer now, so I do share my music other ways.
Well, that's good. Well, how's your family?
Well, my parents have always encouraged me to do music when I grew up, and they gave me a tutor, and but then suddenly my dad passed away, and then my mother just went off the deep end, and she moved away and sent me to live with this guy named Frederick Wyke. I'm pretty sure that's like how I pronounce his name. But, so I lived with him, and then I composed music, and yeah.
Music often helps us when we can't really say the
Yes,
words.
music is the best.
Would you mind me showing you some ink blots, and you would tell me the first thing that comes to mind? Let's see.
Oh, wow. Okay. I see a ocean that's just so vast. An ocean of symphonies just all compiled together, and they're just so in tune with each other that cannot be defined individually. And the instruments that make the sound and the beautiful noise, they're just so beautiful. Everything. It's so complex.
Okay. Seems good to me. Well, I think we're out of time.
Oh, can I show you something?
Oh, sure.
Let you listen to my composition. Just a little bit.
Will you compose this?
Oh, yes. Do you like it?
It's Very beautiful.
Thank you.
That's just the beginning. But I know that we're out of time, so
Thank you for that. And I shall see you next week.
yes.
Same time?
Yes.
Cool. Beethoven?
Yep, I'm here.
Well, Beethoven, just follow
Yeah.
me.
Pressure.
Just sit right here.
Yeah.
How are you, Beethoven?
Well, I think it's good.
That's good. This is our first session, so we're gonna start at the very beginning. How was your childhood experience?
Oh, my childhood. I have to say before 10 years old, everything's terrible.
Oh,
You know what? I was born in a city named Bonn in the German. My father and my father's father is a musician. They sing songs, but my father was drunker. He drunk every day. Oh, that was terrible experience.
I personally like smoking.
Yeah. Luckily, I have my mom. Even though she died when I was 17, but she did a very great job to feed me and everything. And the most terrible thing is my father wanted me to become another Mozart. And he pushed me to play piano every day. You know what? When I was a child, when I heard the father, when I think about the piano, when I think about the music, that's all pleasure. I hate them. But luckily, when I was 10, I met another nice guy named, let me think his name. I don't quite remember his name. It should be named Next. Yes, my teacher, Next. He helped me to recreate my thought about the music, about the piano. Finally, I love piano. Oh, changed everything when I was 10. That's lucky. Yeah, that's my childhood. Terrible, but it's good.
Everything but piano is bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm sure not everything in your life is so bad, other than piano.
Yeah.
Can you tell me something that's funny, that you find funny?
Oh, funny?
Yes. Like,
Oh.
haha.
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 Haha. Well, all my life is about the piano. I think something funny is also about the piano. Let me think. Yeah. Oh, I remember that one day I left the theater. I was feel hungry. I went to some restaurant and I think I should get something to eat. I go in, I sit down, I suddenly think about some music and then I just put my finger on the desk and just think a little bit and then I just do like this. Oh, nice. Nice. Oh, my experience.
You really do like piano, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, my experience. I just pray like that. And suddenly, when I finished that, I opened my eyes. I found everybody around me. I said, "What are they doing here?" and I loudly said, "Waiter, check, please." And everybody looked at me. I didn't have my I haven't eaten anything. I just forgot I was there. I forgot why I go to the restaurant. I forgot everything. I think that was something funny. Somebody told me, but I forgot. I mean, I didn't know that somebody told me about it. Yeah, I think it's funny for someone.
That's
Yeah.
very funny.
Yeah.
Since music seems to be your everything,
Yeah.
how do you define music?
Music?
Yeah.
Oh, music. That's a great question. What's music? For me, Music is a higher revolution than all wisdom and the philosophy. They're greater than everything. It's a mediator between the spiritual and my sensual life. Music is the one incorporating entrance into the higher world of the knowledge, which comprehends the humankind. But at the same time, humankind never comprehends the music. Music is a wine that inspires one to new generation process, and the music made everything drunk. Music should strike fire from the heart of the man and bring tears from the eyes of the woman. Yes, you know, beside music, I can do nothing to the world. But luckily, you know what? There all and will always be a lot of thousands of princes, but there's only one Beethoven. That's me. Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Benjamin.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Time is up, and I will see you next week. We talk about music more.
Oh, sure. I love to.
Okay, well, I believe that you're next. I recognize you from our previous meetings.
Hello, I'm Soren.
Hi, thank you for
Soren
reminding me.
Kukar. Have you seen my book?
Oh, nice. You didn't have that the last time you came here.
Yes, it just got published. I'm very proud.
Oh, well, congratulations. Okay, well, do you want to start off with ink blots? That's where we left off the other time.
Yes. I see a man in deep reflection. He's looking for truth. He's looking for the distinction between objective truth and subjective truth. He's living his own life, and his own unique life that no one else is living. He knows he exists. He can find meaning in time by existing. His goal in life is to search for himself, and this is the most important task in life.
Answers are always very interesting.
That's something I should probably
Write down.
keep an eye on that. Maybe it'll be in the next book.
Okay. Well, there's some things that lead me to believe that you've had a death experience. Have you had?
I haven't had a near-death experience, but I do think about that on occasion. I think that a lot of people, they know they're going to die, but they don't really they don't think about it as much as they should. I think we live in a death denial society. It's just something that I think everyone just needs to realize, and then this will make them live more passionately. Do you not think that? Does no one else think that? Am I the only one?
No, I don't think that you're the only one. I think a lot of people are frightened by death, and so they'd rather take their mind off of it by having sex and stuff. So, have you had any dreams recently that you remember?
Dreams. I have dreams a lot. I have to think about it. I did have one really important dream. It has stuck with me. I was on a cliff, and God was on the other side of the cliff, and there was this in between, and I had this feeling that I should jump to the other side of the cliff, but I just couldn't. I was thinking about it rationally. I was thinking, how do I know that this really is God on the other side? I mean, I have no way to prove that that's really God, but somehow I feel that that's God, and somehow eventually I realized I would never be able to actually prove that that's God. So I just decided to take a leap of faith. And when I did that, I realized that faith is a gift from God, and that the highest moral position one can make is to no longer depend on just themselves, and just to be in the arms of God felt very pure. And I realized then that the doubt, even though I doubted God, it's still an essential element of me believing in God, because if I didn't doubt, then there would be no way to just trust myself that I really believed in God. Does that make sense?
That's very interesting. And just throwing this out there, perhaps God represented your mother and you felt awesome in her arms because you wanted to have sex with her. Just not saying that's what it meant, but it's just a possibility.
You know, Sig, we do disagree on some things.
Oh yeah, just opening some doors
Okay.
to unconfidence. Yeah, that could be your, I mean, you got the super ego and the id, and you're maybe.
I don't know what any of these words mean, but.
Well, maybe the ego's telling you that your mom is God, and then, yeah. So, we're out of time.
Oh,
and
yes, thank you.
we can talk more about your mom and God the next time. Okay, Salvador?
Dali?
Yes?
Beat, Dali.
Hello.
Dali.
Okay. Nice to meet you, Bali.
Dali. Beat.
Okay. Well, you seem like a very happy person. Has tragedy struck you in any way? What has affected you the most since your childhood?
You are very good.
That's what I'm told.
When I was a young boy, I don't know why it's
This will be on the bloopers reel.
I have some trouble with mine too sometimes.
When I was a young man, about age 16, I lost my mother.
It's making your mustache sad.
I haven't laughed in it yet. My mother. This upset me not just for one reason, but the fact that she would just disappear. I am her only legacy. I am the only person who remembers her. She is only to be remembered by me. I will not be forgotten. I am Dali. People will remember Dali.
And I'll make you immortal.
Yes.
Well, have you succeeded in being remembered? And
Dali. I am Dali. Melting clocks and burning giraffes.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Tall, lanky elephants. Naked ladies with drawers coming out of their abdomens. I am Dali. People know that time melts because of Dali.
Time melts because of you.
They know that time melts because of Dali.
Oui. Drawers coming out of stomachs? Very interesting. Alright, I got it. I'm sorry, but what's with the cat?
Babo is not cat. No, Babo is ocelot. He's my favorite pet. And I'll tell you a funny story. I was once in my favorite restaurant in New York with Babo. And a lady came by. I had Babo tied to the bottom leg chain, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady walks by and she gets all huffy puffy because there is a wild animal in this restaurant. And I said, no, miss. This is
not a wild animal. This is merely a cat that I have painted in art style. And she recognized Dali. She looked very closely and she says, "Oh yes, I see, it's a cat. I apologize, I thought it was an ocelot." Dali.
Well, I sure as hell will remember you. So, and I hope that you remember that we have an appointment next week. And just to remind you, since we're running out of time. Nice to see you again, Dolly. Lucian.
Looking good, Virginia. I'd really like to paint you sometime if you're interested. Just give me a holler.
Oh, he's quite the character, Lucian. So, that's quite an outfit that you've got there.
Well, I thought it was just appropriate. Isn't therapy about being fully exposed and just bearing your emotions and uncovering your soul? I could get fully naked if you want. I just had my boots on because it was cold walking over here, and I didn't want. Are you sure? I don't want my boots to keep me from, like my feelings.
Leave them on.
Okay.
All right. So let me just come out and ask you this: how is your love life?
It's great. I've actually fathered 14 children by 6 different women so far. So yeah, it's gone pretty well. But as you can imagine, it's a little hard just around Christmas time. Finding gifts for the kids, and for some reason they just never liked the paintings I made them. And I was actually working on one coming over here. I was just in the studio, and I was thinking this one. This would be really good, the self-portrait here.
I can see why they're upset.
I mean, I think I look good, but whatever.
So I assume that painting is a hobby of yours?
It's not just my hobby, it's my career besides, looking so good. It's my outlet, I suppose you could say. I just prefer really working naturally. I like being in the nude, I like my subjects being in the nude, and that might explain my extended family. It just makes me feel good. I just really like that real deep reaching into the human soul, the human body, the whole human experience. I leave nothing uncovered. I just really like, bearing all there is. But speaking of extended family, how are you doing, Grandpa Freud?
I was doing well until you came in. No, just kidding. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Yeah. Excuse me, I need a soup. Okay. Actually, I think you're gonna read the death with me. Just saying, my mouth is kind of hurting.
You might want to cut down?
Yeah, but I have a feeling that this is going to kill me in about 16 years. Just a feeling. But I have had an epiphany. You know how I love talking about sex. You do know that. I think that's why we get along so well.
Possibly.
And I realized everybody loves sex. I'm just willing to admit it. And so are you. And I'm starting to realize that maybe not everything revolves around sex. Like all of our psychological problems and stuff. Hear me out. I think anxiety. Now, come on, this doesn't make much sense. Why would somebody be anxious about sex? Because sex is awesome.
Right.
And I think that has more to do with danger, like maybe someone cutting off your penis. That's very anxiety-filled.
I can imagine it'd be rather uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It also would really alter a lot of my great works.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, come on. Everybody loves penises. Like everybody wants a penis. That's why girls are so angry, like especially like once a month.
That would explain my 6 baby mamas and why they're always just yelling.
Oh yeah, because they're not a holier. They want a penis.
They just want, yeah.
Best that they can do is to, well, marry somebody with a penis.
Luckily I've got one.
Yeah, so we don't have to worry. You got boots. You got boots. And, I mean, I'm afraid that we're out of time and I have to go home and look at my penis some more and smoke some cigars.
Well, it's good to see you.
It's good to see you too.